This program is presented by the Sarawak Tourism Board. Sarawak, the gateway to Borneo.
On this week's Hot List, political buddies. Prabowo Subianto is on friendly terms with Donald Trump. What do Indonesians really think about the U.S. president? Quality control. Are Indonesian universities doing the job, or must parents continue to look overseas? And job joy. Where are workers the happiest? Is it really Indonesia? Hello and welcome. This is Hot Indonesia. I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. Here are my co-hosts. Yenny Wahid is director of the Wahid Foundation, which promotes pluralism. She is the second daughter of the fourth president of Indonesia and a former journalist. And sitting in for Sandy Uno this day is H. Clay Myers, co-founder and CEO of Paradigm, a business English educator who was once a journalist. Hot topic number one, political buddies. A scary moment this past Saturday in Washington, D.C., where shots were fired at a dinner event in which the U.S. president was guest of honor. Donald Trump was okay, and a suspect was arrested. Now, it's safe to say Trump and Prabowo Subianto are on more friendly diplomatic terms. They've met at least twice, most recently in February, where the Indonesian president joined Trump's Board of Peace. They've done trade and defense deals, and the Trump family has business interests here in Indonesia. But the market research firm Ipsos found that 63% of Indonesians believe the U.S. president's economic policies will harm the global economy. 59% say Indonesia's economy would be negatively affected. Yenny, personalities aside, for now, Indonesians aren't seeing any benefit from this bromance.
Nope.
Maybe you aren't either.
Nope. As we all know, that the U.S. is not on our top list of investors. So most foreign direct investment into Indonesia is still coming from Asia. Singapore tops the list with almost 30% of FDI coming from Singapore, then Hong Kong and China. The U.S. is still down there. So, many Indonesians then ask the questions, what is this bromance giving us then, in return, all the closeness? Nothing really in terms of economic impact. What happens is that this bromance does not even solve the issue of 19% tariffs. Well, 10% now.
That seems to have fallen by the wayside. Talk about the tariffs, with all these other things going on, war and other conflicts. Clay, as an American, as I am, we get asked all the time our opinions about what do we think about this relationship and Donald Trump specifically. What do you say to friends and colleagues who want to hear any upside?
I think Ibu hit it on the head. For Indonesia, I don't see the advantage of developing this bromance, as you've mentioned. The U.S. economy is consistently falling. It's tanking. I think it's in Indonesia's interest to look elsewhere across Asia, as Ibu was mentioned.
And they have to China.
Right, exactly.
Pivot,
From the American standpoint, I think it's a smart move. Indonesia is a growing economy. It has the opportunity to be one of the top 10 economies as we move forward or over the next 10, 15, 20 years. So I see the advantage for the American side. I don't see the advantage for the Indonesian side.
So why does Prabowo do it? Politics?
Yes. Prabowo has always been inclined towards a more geopolitical leanings. His focus is more on the issues of politics and strategic alliances, military alliances.
And he's not alone. I mean, leaders do that.
Yes.
They say keep your friends close, your enemies closer.
This keeps the tension, and this creates the tension. So on one hand, of course, his supporters say this is this smart diplomacy. But on the other hand, as you all know, that Indonesians always prided ourselves on the fact that we have these independent policies when it comes to our foreign policy. So now we're seeing this leaning, it seems like that.
And so, and then there is Iran and Gaza, and as a Muslim majority country, there is a sizable amount of support for Trump's enemies. Now, Yenny, President Prabowo has to walk a sensitive line in this particular area.
Absolutely. Otherwise, he will suffer a big damage
Right.
to his political brand, his image, if he dares to be too close or endorsing too strongly Americans' policies on Israel, for example, siding too closely to Israel. Of course, Indonesians are very supportive of the Palestinian cause. And so the Iran issue is a big issue. And it is very interesting because, of course, Indonesians are predominantly Sunni Muslims. And Iran is Shiite Muslims. So Donald Trump actually deserves a Nobel Prize because, this feud.
Don't say that, because then he's going to take your quote and he's going to send it to the Nobel Prize Committee.
Between the Shiites and the Sunnis for centuries have been these tensions. But now Indonesians and many Sunnis are willing to overlook these differences in support of Iran because of what U.S. did to Iran. So that's bringing two people together.
Okay.
Peace.
Give
Vicariously,
a
yeah.
little credit. Okay, now let's talk personalities besides actual politics and diplomacy. Now, if Prabowo is a facilitator, bringing people together, Trump is an agitator. In my terminology, in an interview after the shooting this past weekend, and I guess as all of us former journalists and still a journalist, Trump called a reporter in that interview a disgrace for asking a question about the suspect's motives. I don't know if you saw that 60 Minutes interview, but and as someone who has interviewed prime ministers and presidents, including your dad, as you know, I wouldn't be happy with that disrespect. You've never heard a global leader saying this kind of stuff. Clay, how can we separate the man from the office?
I don't think you can. I think it's gone beyond that point. Perhaps during his first term, we were able to look at the person, the gregarious person, the outspoken person, and then look at the policies. Now during the second term, with so many events, I think people have become tired, quite honestly. There's a fatigue that I see in the United States. We're also starting to see that globally. People are just tired of the negativity, of the constant threats, as you mentioned, the rude behavior to the journalists. We've never seen another leader, as you just mentioned, we've never seen another leader act that way towards respected journalists. So at this point, I don't think you can separate the two. I really don't.
And as head of state, as leaders, you should not take things personally, but he does.
Everything personally.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think how I would react, and I don't know if you've thought if he said that to me in an interview. I mean, no one's ever said that to me or acted that way in an interview, but would I be ready with something? Would I want to lash back? And you wonder that as a journalist. Now, last point to Yenny, how do you think? And we've gone back to this kind of analogy before. How do you think your dad, Gus Stewart, would handle Donald Trump?
Would handle Donald Trump? Okay. I think he probably would handle him like a small kid, like handling a small kid, because this is someone who looks immature. And he is the most powerful man on earth, but he acts very immaturely. And, and going back to your question about how you would handle him as a journalist, that's the way you would treat him. You said, Mr. President, this is unacceptable. And that there's a line that you should not cross. And unfortunately, you have crossed that. But I am still going to give you the time to answer.
The platform.
But we're going to ignore your last remarks. Say that to his face.
I would be tempted to say, and then forgive me if I to me overstep, but I would say I'm not a disgrace. You're a disgrace to your office and your job. I mean, you're tempted to say that. And,
of course.
But I haven't seen that happen in interviews from other journalists, and that time may come. Who knows? Hot Indo will continue shortly. Quality control. Is higher education at home enough?
Quintanala sendiri merupakan sebuah brand fashion aksesoris yang kita menggunakan limbah kayu pabrik furniture sebagai bahan dasar dari pembuatan produk-produk kami. Banyak sekali hal-hal yang memang kita masih belajar, disitulah dirapihin sama Bu Reni. Bikin laporan keuangan, ada akhirnya momen untuk kita bisa presentasi langsung sama Pak Sandi Uno. Secara omset kita bisa naik lebih dari 80%.
Everything is here, everything is yours, everything is Gapura Prima. Everything is here, everything is yours, everything is Gapura Prima. Everything is here, everything is yours.
You are watching Hot Indonesia with Yenny, Clay, and me. Here's hot topic number 2, quality control. Parents are looking earlier than ever at where to send their kids to college. Now, if money is not the object, families look overseas at schools in the US and nearby Australia and other places. Global rankings help that decision, and the latest Times higher education list is out. China topped the Asia rankings with Tsinghua and Peking universities 1 and 2. Singapore and Hong Kong have 2 schools in the top 10. Indonesia only in the top 500. You know, the schools are always rated, in Indonesia, the schools that are always rated the best are, as we know, University of Indonesia and Institute of Technology Bandung. Yenny, you know, you got your
And Gajah Mada University.
Okay, yeah, that's it, the third. You got your undergraduate degree here at home.
Yeah, private
Trisakti.
university,
Okay,
Trisakti, yeah.
and then went on to earn your master's in the U.S. at Harvard Kennedy School.
Yeah.
How far has the gap closed between a domestic and international education? I'm not talking Harvard now. I mean, that gap anywhere in the world is huge, but generally, would you say?
Well, basically, there are 4 bottlenecks when it comes to universities and education system in Indonesia. First one is funding issue, and then the culture, research culture, and then issue of talent retention as well, and then global connectivity. So when it comes to funding Indonesia, the problem is that we don't put enough money on research. We don't put enough money into our education system. You know, we spend most of our monies on free lunch, not on the, not to create better education system for that. Yes.
All right.
Yes. And also that our lecturers are underpaid. So they don't spend their time, you know, doing research, but trying to just to get by, you know, and with doing all kinds of sometimes odd jobs as well, not just lecturing. So all these problems that we're facing, and before we can deal with that, there's really not that much hope that our ranking is going to increase.
So the gap has remained wide, or has it narrowed or widened, or what would you?
You know, slightly, very slightly.
That's something.
Yeah.
Okay. Clay, you know, you have a college-age daughter graduating soon from a school in the U.S. She was born here. You've been here for, what, 15 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you have an Indonesian wife. What led to your decision in sending your daughter overseas instead of here at home? I mean, cost, distance, quality, what?
For us, it was a numbers game. As she mentioned earlier, believe it or not, it was cheaper for us to send her to the United States as long as she went to school in my home state
okay.
of Virginia. So it was actually less expensive for us to send her all the way around the world than it would have been to send her to UI, UGA, M.
So as an in-state attendee, right?
Yes,
She could
correct.
get, yeah,
Correct.
tuition would be lower.
Correct.
Okay.
So that issue came into play, and when we looked at the subjects that were being offered, the majors that she wanted to focus on going into STEM, that made the decision pretty
Could she have
easy
gone
for
here,
us.
though? Is there a school that was a close second, an Indonesian school?
She could have gone here. I'm not sure that she would have been able to focus specifically on the major that she was looking for. There are great schools here in Indonesia. The level of education that you're going to get, high-level education if you apply yourself. But as Ibu mentioned, with the amount of research that's available, with many of the educators being underpaid and overworked, unfortunately, it does play a part in parents' decision about where they want to send their kids.
And that's your decision. It doesn't mean all families will do that because you have a unique situation. Yeah, you're an American living here. Yenny, what will really help or move the needle a little bit for Indonesia to move up in the rankings? I mean, you mentioned money. I mean, is that basically it? The government has to support?
Well, not just the money, of course, the culture as well, like the research culture. What we have now in Indonesian education system is that we are teaching universities, not research university. So it's very two different ways of approaching the issue here. When you're constantly engaging in research, then you are forced to be on top of the game in a way, on the ball. Always remains on the ball. You are always in tune with the latest
Methodologies.
technologies.
So how do we move toward that? How do we move toward that?
Well, we have to change the system.
And who does that?
The Ministry of Education, the government will have to do that. But there is something, well, good and also bad in a way, right? Because now we have all these global universities coming into Indonesia and establishing campuses here.
That's
So
a bad thing?
Monash University.
that's a good
That's
thing.
a good thing. But then, if the goal is to move the local universities up the ranking, it's not going to do anything to that. Because what happens is that all these global universities based here are going to take away all of the students, potential students, going into their campuses, not into the local campuses. Right. So unless we can catch up, I mean, we can use their culture, you can use their methodology of teachings, we can use their, basically, the main thing I think is culture, right, in teachings, right? But
I would agree.
to level up to that.
So it has to start
it's
at the top, a nationwide policy, a mandate to change the system.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that hasn't happened yet.
No.
I venture to say that the system of higher education has changed because of, one, technology and the impact of the global pandemic. I think because of what happened and we saw remote classes, industries, including television, in fact, have changed. And you don't need maybe in-person classes anymore. So you can do a hybrid thing, and that might help the system and help streamline things, and particularly in money. Do we need 4 years of undergraduate work? I would propose we streamline it to 3 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
do you need 4? I don't remember what I learned my first years of college. It's mainly your last 2 where you learned kind of your major.
Right.
So I think we need to get young people out in the real world faster. Any thoughts? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. There's another problem is that what we produce from our universities actually do not meet the demand of the workplaces.
Exactly.
So this is, again, the misalignment.
Practical knowledge as well as, things that you can apply.
The world is changing. The business world is changing almost daily, almost weekly. With the technology that we have today, I would agree with you. A 4-year or 5-year education plan, it's obsolete.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Move
It
it
is.
down to 3 at the
Sure.
minimum.
With the access that we have
With
to
AI
online,
especially.
the AI, students are more aware. We're seeing certainly students here, 8, 9, 10 years old, they're already speaking English, they're already speaking another language. It's a completely different concept, a completely different paradigm, and we need to see the education here reflect that.
I bet you the first university here or abroad that moves to a 3-year undergraduate degree, it would be successful. I think it would be
Yeah.
a unique experiment, and maybe some are doing it. I don't know of any, but I would like to see that, and I think parents who fund their education of their kids would like to see that too, because it's not cheap anymore. Okay, more Hot Indo is ahead. Job joy workers in which country do you think say they are the happiest?
Aku ngelihat bahwa masih banyak hewan peliharaan yang itu tuh masih menggunakan produk-produk manusia, dan aku menginisiasi Anima supaya bisa menghasilkan obat-obatan untuk hewan. Ikut program US-Indonesia itu di pertengahan tahun gitu. Waktu aku konsultasikan, mereka sangat mendukung gitu kan untuk bisa mengekspansi pasar ini ke luar Jabodetabek atau luar Jawa lah gitu kan.
Setiap organisasi memiliki potensi yang besar yang menunggu untuk dibangkitkan. Pradaim didirikan oleh para ahli bersertifikasi. Kami hadir untuk mengembangkan mindset dan keterampilan manusia dengan kurikulum custom, interactive learning, dan metode coaching yang relevan dengan kebutuhan perusahaan. Hasilnya adalah perubahan nyata dalam performa, komunikasi, dan budaya kerja.
Paradigm. We don't teach, we educate.
You're watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Hot topic number 3, job joy. Guess who's at the top of the list of happiest workers in the Asia-Pacific region? Indonesians. A recent survey by the online employment marketplace Seek found that 82% of Indonesians said they feel happy at work. In second and third place are the Philippines with 77% and Malaysia at 70%. Experts say workers in developing markets, such as Indonesia, hold a more optimistic view of life in general. Now, ranked last in the survey of 8 regions was Hong Kong at 44%. Yeah, I understand that. Yenny, is 82% a true indicator of what's happening here, or kind of a surface thing?
I think there are many layers to that survey, to that result, because even though
I don't think it was that deep, but anyway, yeah, I don't think the survey went into.
but you can read into the numbers, right? Because despite the fact that 80% are happy, more than 80%, but there's also a level of burnout that people feel. Wow. And also there is a source of problems also that they feel, and leadership and the quality of leadership at work, the bosses, the way the boss treat their workers also play a major role in whether they're happy or not.
So what do you say? The number 82 is too high?
No. It's actually reflective of how Indonesians are.
That's 8 out of 10 people.
Indonesians thrive on connectivity. And so what makes people happy at work is the strong people connection. Is whether they have friends at work, whether they have a sense of purpose, whether they are being respected. So it's not just about salary. It's about people, connection of the people.
Interesting.
Okay, Clay, you deal with workers in many settings in your business. Is job satisfaction one of the things you emphasize, or doesn't it matter?
It's starting to become more pertinent in today's business world. We're seeing more focus on mental health, work-life balance. That's the new buzzword that everyone is using. So as she just said, it's not always the salary. It's spending time, that connectivity, that building the social network. It's the ability to dictate my hours. It's having the weekends available to spend with family and friends. So there's a lot more to it. And to hear that over 80%, wow, that's impressive. I would have to say,
You're surprised.
I'm a little surprised by it, but then again, in today's economic climate, we're happy to have a job. We're happy to be able to provide for families. So I see it from both sides.
And that's a good point. You're happy to have a job. I mean, if you're working in a mall or a vendor on the street, I mean, you can't totally be satisfied with your position in life, but they're earning money and they're providing for their family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Yenny, you said that salary and Euclid that was no longer or is
Not
becoming
the only indicator of
it's
happiness.
purpose at work. But Yenny, I think that's nice to say. But you got to do what you got to do
You got
to earn a living. I mean, whether you like it or not, you have to bring home money.
Of course, of course. I mean, if you just work without earning, proper amount of money, it's also.
But I'm
you're not
saying
going
if you
to be
don't
happy
like
with
it,
that.
but you just have to do it. I mean, even if you don't like what you're doing.
Well, if you have options, then you can find a more fulfilling jobs rather than staying at the job that doesn't make you happy, right? But most people do not have that options. Of course, I understand that.
And
But
surveys
still,
like this are surveys. I mean, the guy comes to me, "Are you happy to do your job?" Oh yeah. I mean, not really. These are just surveys. So.
But I suppose Indonesians in general are happy people.
Okay, no, then
It's
and
also the
other
backdrop,
surveys say they are the friendliest and the
Yeah.
happiest, smile the most. So that's part of the culture.
Well, it's also generational. What we're seeing from the younger people today, the ability to go online, open up a shop. I can sell coffee, I can sell makeup, I can do tutorials. So I imagine that the younger generation, they do have those options where they can go be entrepreneurs, be more independent, get a group of their friends together and open up a business.
Yeah,
So
maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe
the workforce is changing.
more
The dynamics
options. Yeah,
are
the
changing.
older folks, their parents had to do what they had to do, and
But interesting, the number one, number two country that topped the list, Indonesians and Filipinos.
Right.
What do they have in common? If you look at the characteristic of the people,
They're
first
similar.
they're religious. Second, they love to sing and dance. I don't know whether there's a connection to the why we are happy
Is
at
there a song
work.
coming?
okay.
But you have to dig
long as
deeper
they don't sing at
into
work,
the daytime.
yeah,
In my
yeah.
opinion, yeah.
Our office is going to karaoke soon, so
See, you have to ask them whether that makes them happy.
okay.
If it does, then you need to schedule more karaoke sessions.
Focus,
I'll join
everybody.
you.
Focus, yeah. Okay, you will.
Yeah.
It's coming. Okay, feedback time now, and our segment on durian shipments to China raised some tasty comments. Roger sent this from London. I remember as a boy in Singapore, the smell was offensive. I guess he didn't like it. And James posted this on Facebook. Your segment, Tasting Durian, was fun. I agree with Yenny that frozen durian, don't cut it. Here's how to contact us with your feedback. Email at hotindonesiachannel.world or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia channel, X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Final words, Yenny.
I want to express my condolence to the victims of the train crash accident that happened several days ago. But we cannot just stop at feeling sorry, feeling the loss of the victims. We should also use this opportunity to better the system. The government needs to fix the signaling, the dangerous crossing, and to make sure that this kind of accident never happens again in the future.
Final words, Clay.
The business world is constantly changing. There's more of a focus on skills. There's more of a focus on your ability to communicate effectively, your ability to be a part of a team, leadership, entrepreneurship, communication. These are skills that are going to be required in the workforce as we move forward. If you want to know more about these types of things, I suggest you check out Paradigm. We don't teach, we educate.
That's a soft sell. Okay. My final words, May 1st, we take a holiday to celebrate Labor Day, kind of ironically, and the contributions of workers, also to draw attention to workers' rights, important in keeping a country strong and households. Thank the working people in your home, your mom, your dad, for giving you what you needed to grow up healthy and with dignity. And that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Yenny Wahid and Clay Myers, I'm Dalton Tanonaka. Thank you for joining us, and please see you again next week.
This program is presented by the Sarawak Tourism Board. Sarawak, the gateway to Borneo.